Now, come time for sectionals. Our first round, we had Roosevelt beat them 48-0. Now we got a big game against Valparaiso. Give us your goals in that game and the outcome of that game.
Goal of the game was to win. I don't care about what manner of who we're supposed to tackle, who we're supposed to stab out on the field, if that's what we had to do. But at the same time, that's wasn't what the outcome was. Uh, it's a lot of things that happened in that game. It was small things. We didn't lose by them crushing us. You know, they had a tailback that was ranked #1 in the state, and at the same time, he came up against us and had under 50 yards rushing. I mean, that's a compliment to our defense, to our defensive line, you know, to the school itself. Because when you get a hype that comes up there like that, and we stop them, they have to go to different aspects of their game, and at the same time, some of that we weren't ready for. Uh, they took back a punt return. I mean, that's something that does happen in the game, but it didn't happen against us often.
It didn't happen at all against us. I mean, our last 2 years, we never had a punt return or kickoff.
It was a breakdown in probably 1-2 assignments, and that's what it was. And that was the turning point of the whole game, because their fans were leaving, going home in the third quarter. Our fans were leaving, going home because it was cold outside. They were going to say, well, we'll just listen to the rest of the game on the radio. And the next day, they asked me what happened. And at the same time, I had to put my head down, because at the same time, we just didn't close out the game. And that's what it came down to.
Recently, I interviewed Antoine Kennedy, and he stated that he felt like yourself, Mike McGee himself, could have stepped up and just went into the game, because during that time, our secondary was getting beat on a lot of plays. He felt like you, as the leader, you know, as the vocal leader of that team, you should have just won the game. What you feel about that?
I feel that is true, but at the same time, and I blame this on me, because I wasn't physically ready. I was playing defense at the time, and they had not scored deep against us until I came out. But at the same time, I was cramping up. That's poor conditioning on my part. And I don't blame the team for that, because I was probably, you know, I thought I was conditioned, but I could have always been better. I could have pushed myself to been better. But at the same time, no other person said anything, because, you know, the people we had out there, we still had confidence in. And then when it was all said and done, we shoulda, coulda, woulda, but we didn't at the time. We could have took people out, we could have changed personnel, but at the same time, we'd have been teaching on the fly. But that also goes with having more coaches in depth, because we could have had certain people learn those skill positions. Been like, okay, if he gets hurt, who's the other step in his place? We really didn't have scenarios like that. And if you think about it, we could have put an athlete in there. He could have probably did a better job than what, you know, the current people were doing, or he could have did an even worse job. So we can say we should have put some more people in there, but at the same time, we still don't know what the outcome would have been.
Now your season is over with. Now it's time for the recruiting process. I'm a witness to it. You had numerous offers to be an option quarterback. Air Force Academy wanted you. Southern Utah, New Mexico State. I mean, I can go on. All the option teams in the country was coming to East Chicago Central because they wanted you to play option quarterback, but you told them no. And why?
It was probably stupidity and arrogance on my part. I always felt that I wanted to play receiver, and the thing is, I felt that I had the hands to do it. I felt that, you know, I had the speed to do it, but at the same time, I didn't have the patience to do what I should have done, and I just went on the impulse of what I wanted to do. And at the same time, I could have got trapped in a position of I'd have been unhappy there. But the thing is, I probably would have excelled there, and probably could have took me to the next level, but I didn't. And I'll be quite honest, recruiting process is the most time-consuming. Your family comes together, your family gets scared because you don't know what you're going to do. You don't know what decisions you're going to make. You don't know if you're going to go to the college down the street or you're going to go on the other side of the country. And at the same time, it's a feeling of you're excited because you do get these offers. You do get these schools that come to you, they talk to you, they come into your home, they talk to your parents. But at the same time, there's certain aspects of, you know, questions that certain athletes should ask their program. Would they feel comfortable? Are they hiring, or I should say, are they recruiting more people at that position? How many people do you have currently in depth at that position? It's certain aspects of what the person should do. As they're recruiting you, you should recruit them, because you need to know what seniors are leaving, what juniors are leaving. You need to pay attention to the draft. And the thing is, the small aspects like this, we never knew, and no one could ever predict certain scenarios. I got offered to go to a college, and they didn't even know at what position they wanted to put me at because of the weight I was at. If I would have gained more weight, I probably would have played a different position. So it's a gut-wrenching, thing to go in there.
So how did you end up picking the University of Northern Iowa?
Northern Iowa, they were at the time, they came and they just laid it all on the table. They said, we want you to come. We're going to pay full tuition, full everything. And at the only time, that was the only school that was trying to get me at a position other than quarterback that would say they would just play me. And I also felt comfortable that they offered the same scholarship to two other players that I played with. And when you go to a school and you're by yourself, you probably won't do as well, because you're thinking to yourself, they're all against you. But when you go to with a group of friends and you're like, okay, we'll watch each other's backs, certain aspects of, okay, when you're down, you can go to that player, you can be like, you get up, you get back in the huddle, and you do what you got to do.
Now, you get a full scholarship at the University of Northern Iowa. Before you even touch down on the university, you are designated as the second backup DB to All-American defensive back Ty Talton. All right, you go in, you play defensive back at Northern Iowa, and what happened the week before two-a-days ended?
The week before two-a-days ended, the coaches that came to me and they'd asked, they thought I was kind of down, and they were kind of right. At the time, I didn't want to play a position that I did not want to play. And granted, I probably would have had more time. I probably would have seen the field the whole game. But I still didn't want to play a position that I didn't want to play. And then the coaches that did something, they were just saying, well, we're going to experiment with something. We're going to have all the offensive players play defense, and the defensive players play offense. And they must have saw something in me. They must have saw a smile, because I must have showed a little spark, because they switched me at that time. And at that time, it probably wouldn't have been a wise decision, because how do you go from, being second on the depth chart of playing, defense to eighth? But at the same time, it was about happiness, because if you think about it, in my position, if I'd have went there and been unhappy, that could have affected your performance, that could affect your grades.
But why didn't you just use your true freshman season as an opportunity to travel, see different things, and learn the game, instead of last day or 2 days you leave second string DB, traveling everything, to going to eighth string, now you're on scout team. So you went from being involved to scout team on your own decision. It wasn't because you couldn't do it.
No, it at the same time, a lot of your coaches don't teach you this. When you're a high school player, you are a piece of meat. They're going to use you just like you should use them. Every year that they grant you that, like, you want your red shirt year, or we don't think you're ready, you should take that opportunity as a blessing, not as you're not performing up to your par, because you get to get another year of being stronger, another year of being faster, another year of education, another year of not being pressured about going to your classes, because you can lessen your load. And some people see that as, nah, I don't want to see it that way, because you want to see the field all the time. You're supposed to have that hunger to see the field all the time. But at the same time, it's a blessing in disguise, because you can relax, you can get your grades, you can get in with the program, you can feel comfortable at your atmosphere. It was comfortable for me. And I can't say that decision for other people, because other people probably would have been in my position, and went to all those games and got playing time. But I was a happier person with the decision I made.
Now you moved to wide receiver, your true freshman year, and you redshirted. Now you're a redshirt freshman and you're playing wide receiver. Give us your goals of that year, and then tell us what happened after that football season.
My goals for that year were simple. I wanted to travel. I wanted to show that I was one of the top 6 receivers that would have made that squad day in, day out. And at the same time, I was killing myself through 2-a-days. I was showing them that I was aggressive enough, I was fast enough, I was strong enough. I was out there on every play, and then at the same time, if they needed players in some other positions, I went there. But at the same time, I was seeing certain things that discouraged me because I was seeing certain people in positions I felt didn't deserve that positions. But they got the time, and that's something that you have to deal with as a person who is fighting from far on the depth chart to trying to get to that number 6 spot or even the number 1 spot. Because I was with a group of receivers at the time where they were fighting amongst themselves in the same offense, but the thing is, they got the playing time and I did not. Now, I did travel with, to some of the games, but at the same time, I wasn't as far in the depth chart to get to see the field as much as I wanted to.
Now let's go over the wide receivers that's in front of you, because that was a deep group of guys. You had Alonzo Clayton, who went to the Cincinnati Bengals. Mike Furry went to the St. Louis Rams.
Eddie Berlin
went to the Tennessee Titans. So, and Jake Soloway went to the Arizona Cardinals. So how did it feel competing with those guys every day in practice?
Competing with them every day, that makes you stronger, because at the same time, you got to think these people are in front of you for a reason. So you have to fight to try to get to that either by them or ahead of them. Because if they're in that spot, they must be there for a reason. It's not all agent, believe it or not. You got to have some skill to play this game.